Dory Houle. Acting Supervisor Tony Cardone cannot be with us tonight. I'd like for everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Okay, I'll take a motion to open up the board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Monday, August 12th at 7:01 p.m. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Houle, aye. I almost said Cardone. Aye.
Richardson, aye.
I'm so used to hearing that. Okay, so community announcements. Mary, did you want to talk about Movies on the Lawn?
Movies on the Lawn, the library's doing that once again. They were rained out this past Friday, so The Wizard of Oz is going to magically appear on August 30th at sunset, which the only thing I know is before 8 o'clock now, because it keeps getting shorter and shorter the days. And then on September 13th, they will do Kung Fu Panda, again at sunset. Bring your chairs and blankets and snacks.
Excellent. Do we need more chairs? Oh, you're getting them, Steve? Thank you. Okay, excellent. Also on community announcements is the shoe drive for Souls for Souls. The town of Monroe is collecting new or gently worn shoes right here in the entranceway to Town Hall. You can bring them here, you can bring them to the Monroe Village Hall or to the Senior Center, and they are going to be, they're looking for any type of shoe, children, adults, sneakers, sandals, formal shoes, boots, etc., and they'll be collecting them until August 24th. The Village of Monroe Summer Concert Series is going strong. They had a great crowd on Saturday. The next one will be August 17th, which incidentally, the Village is continuing its carnival starting this Thursday, continuing through the weekend. So this concert, the discotheques, they're going to coincide with the carnival. So that should be a lot of fun.
Carnival that got rained out
Yes.
previously
Yes.
is going to be held
Yes.
this weekend.
So this
Okay.
happened a couple of years ago.
I think it happens every year.
Yeah,
Well,
it's become
almost
a theme.
every year. But I remember there was one year that it got rained out and flooded so badly that we had to put hay down.
Yeah,
Do you
and
remember
that
that
hay
year? Oh my God,
had
it was
an odor
awful.
that
It
I
stunk.
still can smell it.
Oh, it was
I
Yeah.
managed to go on Thursday, and I think some of those rides, I told Neil Dwyer and the police chief they should be illegal. Upside down, they were intense, so it's a good time.
Is it the same carnival company that'll
Same
be
carnival
Yeah.
company, yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
they left a lot of their rides there, so
Yeah, I've
they'll
seen
just
some of
continue
them.
it. And, you know, and it's a great time for the family, and it benefits the Village, and it benefits Crane Park, which is the most important thing. So,
Yes, let's pray for good weather this weekend.
yes, we should.
Unfortunately, it does look like there's rain again.
No
so-
way,
yeah.
does it?
Yeah.
Let's get just a
But-
couple of days of nice weather
Not
so
as
that
much
these
as
kids can go
last
on
week.
these rides.
Maybe some spots.
And
Is it
who knows?
Friday, Saturday,
Who
Sunday?
knows? They could be wrong. They've been wrong before.
So,
The next community announcement is the Village of Monroe Farmers Market. That's continuing on Sundays in the commuter lot from 9 to 1. They have some fresh fruits and vegetables, some great vendors, live local music. So you should head on down there and take a peek. It's really a great thing. And the last one is the Orange County Mobile DMV is coming back to Town Hall on September 9th. Their hours will be 10 to 12, and then they close for lunch from 12 to 1, and then they reopen again from 1 to 3:30. You can do most of the things that you need to do at DMV, you can do right here. They hang out in the parking lot, and much easier than going out to Goshen. And there is one other community announcement. This week, I believe on Tuesday and Wednesday, there is a car seat check at the Monroe Pediatrics on Gilbert Street. Free car seat check. They are partnering with the Monroe Police Department. They'll take a look at how your car seat is installed and make sure that all of that is going well. So that'll happen from 12 to 3. So you should head out if you have kids in car seats. I luckily do not anymore. Yay.
Tori, I believe that the Fiesta Latina is
That's right.
Saturday as well. I don't know
Fiesta
the time, but
Latina
I know it's
is Saturday. It starts at 11, and I believe it goes until 6. And it's over at Museum Village. Fantastic event. Great food, great vendors.
Yeah, Ruben Estrada and his team do a great job
They
there.
do. They do. Excellent. Okay. So, item 4.1, I'd like to make a motion to open up the public hearing regarding zone change petition for Larkin Drive.
I'll make that motion.
Bingham will second.
Called question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Hool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Do we have any public comment? Any speakers?
Public comment.
Okay.
And before we begin, if there's anybody in the audience who didn't sign up for general public comment, that can be done before 7:15.
Can you turn the
Oh,
mic
just-
on? There's a slide button on top of the microphone, and it should light
Just a
up.
reminder for public comment, you'll have 5 minutes.
How about that? Is that better?
Anyone who wants to speak on any of the agenda items or public hearings or for general comment at the end can sign up right here with the clerk.
How about that, board? Is that better?
That's much better. Thank
Thank you
you.
so
better.
much for the tip.
Nice tie. I like the tie.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Scully. I'm with Catania Man and Ryder. We represent the petitioner here. Just as a brief overview before I turn it over to our engineer, Mr. Morganti, who's here to take you through the plans. This is a request to rezone about 10.3 acres from light industrial to heavy industrial because even though it's kind of odd, in our zoning code, retail is not permitted in a heavy industrial. And the adjacent properties all have fairly large retail establishments, so this would be a rezone that's keeping in the character of the surrounding areas. We've submitted on August 2nd in response to the board's comments at the July 15th start of this hearing, full-size set of drawings, as well as additional information that I believe Mr. Morganti will be speaking to. We are proposing large retail establishments here in the 4 of them in the 10,000 to 55,000 square foot neighborhood. And I apologize if I misspoke last month, I think. I was talking about smaller retail establishments. That was incorrect, and that's on me. I do apologize, board, for that. Again, we're looking between 10,000 square feet to 55,000 square feet establishments that, again, are relatively in keeping with the character of the retail establishments in that area. And so these establishments would not be competing, which is important in the comp plan, with smaller downtown locally owned businesses. These would not be comparable in any way or compete in any way with those sorts of businesses. With that kind of brief overview, unless you have specific questions for me, I would like to turn it over to our engineer, Mr. Mike Morganti, who can help take you through the plans and might be able to answer questions about the specifics of the plans themselves.
Do you have tenants yet in mind?
The clients are examining with various, but we don't have any contracts. We don't have anyone specifically nailed down at this point. Yeah.
Were your comments submitted directly to the supervisor or to the general town board and the clerk's office or
Let me
in response?
check the covering email. I know the clerk confirmed receipt of them, and they were sent to, let me check the outgoing. Let's see, the clerk said on the 5th, hard copies were received and distributed this morning, but where do we actually send them?
Oh, hard copy?
We sent them, it looks, email and a hard copy to the clerk. Thank you, Ms. Morganti. And they were sent on August 2nd from our office to the clerk.
Okay.
August 2nd.
Second.
We had a lot of applications, a lot of paperwork.
Understood, completely understandable. Would the board be pleased to hear from the engineer at this point?
Yeah, that'd be.
Sure. Yes, please.
Let me turn it over to Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Morganti for the record, representing this application before the town board for a potential zone potential rezone. Valerie, if you could bring up the PDFs, I think it probably makes sense to start with the site plan package that was submitted, and I can go through a general overview of what's being.
Which one are we pulling up, Micah?
That one is perfect right there.
And we should probably reset the public hearing, the public comment timer.
I can't do both.
I'm going to just pull the mic out so
Sure.
I can stand closer. So what you see here is, let me come on this side actually. If you can go to the second sheet right there. So for those of us that need a little bit of direction as to where we are here, we are along Larkin Drive, and essentially what you're looking at is the parcel that if you are traveling and you would be passing Target on your right, and you would be passing Outback on your left. This is the piece of property just before Outback on your left-hand side, to give everybody an exact location as to where the parcel is. The parcel is vacant at this time, and majority of it's wooded. We have a few small Army Corps of Engineer wetlands located around the northern parcel, as shown here. I believe there's a DEC wetland on the southern side, and in particular, there's a little small Army Corps of Engineer wetland in this corner here. Again, the site's vacant, wooded. It's got some steep slope topography. We've got utilities located in this section of Larkin Drive right there in terms of sewage disposal. There are some other catch basins right now that collect some drainage along Larkin Drive, and there's also some dry sewer manholes located along Larkin Drive. But from Outback, essentially, going towards the light in the opposite direction, there's a lot of vacant land in that area. And Valerie, if you could go down to, I believe it's going to be sheet 4, actually. Or keep going to sheet 5. Sheet 5, yep. So again, this is just an overview of the entire property. Again, it's a larger view. And what you're seeing in this particular southeastern corner right here of the northern property is where essentially the proposed development would take place. It's a concept plan in nature. I just want to make sure we understand that. And at this time, it's looking as approximately about 10.3 acres in size. Valerie, if you can go to the next sheet, it'll be a larger view. Actually, you can go one more sheet. This is a blow-up view of what you're looking at on the larger plan over there. Essentially, what you've got is one big box retail store located in this portion of the site. It's about 54,000 square feet, with a couple other small lease shops, one at 22, one at 20, and one at a little bit over 10,000. It's worth noting we have already had conversations with Orange County Sewer District Number 1 as it relates to sewage disposal. I went through the entire sewage main and manhole layout with them. They were okay with the proposed extension of the sewer line as shown. As a matter of fact, they had actually requested that we would extend it through the property on the eastern side. So we don't have any technical approvals, wouldn't be appropriate. We certainly aren't filing for a sewage permit way too early, but it was important for us to engage Orange County Sewer District Number 1 from an initial feasibility standpoint, and whether or not they would be interested in us looking for an extension of the sewer main for this particular project. The answer to that question is yes. Second thing we did was we spoke with Orange County Department of Health because water supply for this project will be important. We don't really have anything, I shouldn't say we do have municipal water nearby, but it's within the village of Harriman's Water District. So we are looking at potentially drilling a individual well for this particular project. We took a look at the square footage of the buildings. We looked at what the requirements are for the water demand for this type of project. And what we estimated to be is about a 15 to 20 gallon per minute well that we would need. Being that it's a commercial facility or retail facility, we only need one well. We don't need a backup supply well for this. It's not for residential purposes. Again, it was appropriate to show this plan to the Orange County Health Department, which I did. In terms of well location, and I have correspondence from the Department of Health that says that that location for a well is an appropriate location with their office. It's important to note that that proposed well is shown currently as stands in a Town of Monroe wetland buffer. If the project were to move forward and we work with the planning board, we would require a wetland permit for the drilling of that well. We're proposing nothing else within that buffer. We're leaving the rest of that buffer completely intact, but that would be something that we would need to probably work on with the town board. So as it relates to water supply, sewage disposal, a general layout, this concept plan is pretty comprehensive. We know we have water and sewer that we can use to supply those services to the site. The layout has in general been completed with the LI zone. However, as you're well aware, we're looking for the HI zone for this, for the proposed use. But in general, the parking layout, the building sizes, the setbacks are generally complying. So that's an overview of the project as it stands. Again, concept and nature, but we wanted to be able to show the town what the applicant for this particular zone change is seeking, and then to be able to answer any questions that you may have.
Mike, you have to forgive my voice.
Sure.
I would just like to state that on August 5th, that letter and those, the maps were sent to the town board in an email that says, please see attached. Hard copies were also delivered to your,
Mailboxes.
in your mailbox. So those were emailed out to the board on August 5th.
Okay. Yeah. I was only looking at the cover letter that said it was sent to you via email and hand delivery as well. So
Oh, exactly.
Thank you, Mike.
sure. I'll be
Mary-
glad.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to answer any questions you have while I'm
The
here.
I do have a
Subject
question for Mike before he,
Go ahead.
You want me to
you can stand by the
we
podium.
can play peekaboo around the TV.
Okay.
Ellis.
As you said, this is a concept plan. So from what I understood earlier was that only portion of the entire property
Yes.
is what you're looking for. Now, I do happen to hear rumors that the DEC is going to change some wetland regulations coming up. So since this is a concept plan, you're still flexible enough that you could adjust
Yes.
to compensate for everything.
And that's a good comment and a good question. It's not rumor, it's happening. If you can go back to sheet 5, that's why I gave like the different types of scaled views. This, I'll just use my pen real quick here to kind of outline roughly the border line of the property. And that's on both sides of Larkin Drive. Here's the northern portion of the property right there. As you can see, we're just utilizing that one little small corner of that property, about 10.3. Now, that's a concept plan. But I mean, we're probably going to utilize retaining walls during construction and things of that nature, so I expect that we'll be pretty close to that 10.3. Sure.
Sal, did you have any?
You guys gaining, are you gauging interest?
There's no one who will speak to us until we have something we can talk to them about. And we're here for a zone change. Until we are able to accomplish a zone change, I mean, it's completely speculative at this point.
I have a couple of questions. So my first question is, how will people access the parking lot? Where will you come in
Sure.
from?
If we can go back, Valerie, to sheet 7. So right now, we're proposing an entrance along the northwestern portion of that 10.3 acres. That we worked with our traffic consultant, who is not really fully on board yet at this point, but at least from an entrance standpoint, and that appeared to be one of the best entrances for the particular site. Keeps it far enough away from any of the entrances that are down here for the Outback Steakhouse, strip mall, and whatnot. And again, it provides us an adequate location for site distance and so on and so forth. So just one full movement access at this time.
Okay, and how close will this be to the Outback side of that other shopping center?
So yeah, if we can go to the smaller, go to sheet 4 right there. I just gotta go around the other side of the screen. So Outback is right here. I mean, it's not big enough to see it on the map. If you go back to sheet 1 or sheet 2, not even sure this will have it. There it is right there. So that's the actual strip mall box outline right there. And that's the wetland we were talking about. So our building will be back in this area parallel across from it.
Will they connect at all to
No,
the two?
there's
No,
no-
so
there's-
these will be two completely independent. So that
Correct.
means that if anyone wants to go to the new strip mall and then go over
They'd
to
have to come out.
Outback, they'd have to
come out and
leave
go
and
around.
come in.
Similar to the setup with BJ's and getting
Correct.
out of that, going
Correct.
into Outback, getting
Two
out of that,
separate
going
entrances.
into,
Yep, correct.
Did the traffic engineers indicate any type of traffic control device required?
Not at this time. It's too early to
It's too early, yeah.
engage. But I will note, Larkin Drive is well signalized to begin with. If there's another, we have a signal, if I'm not mistaken, right about here.
I think there's a bit of a curve, which would be my only concern for traffic, but like you said, it's a bit
There is.
early.
But whatever is required,
Yeah.
we will certainly provide that. If there's signalization, turning lanes, whatever may be required as a part of the traffic study, we will certainly provide that.
I think they basically clarified that the scope of this presentation and the scope of this meeting is just that they would like to turn this zoning to, have a heavy industry so that they can have plans formally in front of us to be more scrutinized and tenants to seek. So I think all of our questions are sort of jumping ahead. For this, I guess, I'm looking at the wetlands just because that's my automatic go-to, and I'm seeing that it is in a 100-year flood plan, and the long-eared bat is on the property.
Yep.
And were there any sort of proposals to have more green infrastructure to mitigate flooding, like reducing parking or making permeable areas or something like that?
We would 100% be glad to look at all that as
Yeah.
we enter into the planning process.
Yeah.
If the testing on the site proves suitable and the design does as well, it's, in my mind's eye, I can't quite see that far ahead, even though I've been doing this for a long time. I would try to propose something that has infiltration and/or bioretention, because both of those technologies tend to try to recharge stormwater runoff back into the groundwater supply, which is a good thing. So any chance I get, I did it on actually Pilati Village where we use those technologies in infiltration basins. So again, really, really early at this time to see that far ahead, but
Yeah.
we would certainly look to do green infrastructure techniques if possible.
And I think most of our questions would be probably directed to council, just because my concerns would just be the impact of changing the zone, which I don't think, you guys are not.
Sorry, my mic wasn't turned on. On your short form EAF, 17, will the proposed action create stormwater discharge either from point or non-point sources? If yes, A and B. Doesn't seem you answered B.
It's only simply because, like I said, it's kind of too far.
Too conceptual. So when this goes to the planning board,
100%. That will
Okay.
actually, when it goes to the planning board, that will turn from a short form into a full
Full,
EAF.
yeah.
And with
Okay.
a project of this size, potentially even a Part 3 expanded EAF to go with it.
Okay, thank you.
So would you like to continue the public hearing
Um,
to next meeting?
Sure, but
If-
one other question, again, legal counsel. Can we send this up to the county for a GML review to start that process, or do we have to close the public hearing first?
Oh, then
Okay.
Yeah,
that
got
would be
it.
great.
You normally would refer it while the public hearing's open.
Okay.
Would you
So-
like to make a motion?
I'll
that we
make a
refer-
motion that we refer this to the county for a GML review regarding
I'll s-
zoning.
I'll second that.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Yes, that was one of my next questions. You might want to refer to your town planner as well. I think they may have already taken a look at this, but they may not have seen those plans. So be a good time to get comments back from your planner, Orange County Planning, and then we can reconvene and see what those comments are. And
I'll make
Continue the
another
discussion.
Well,
motion.
he is indicated as being copied on this submission.
So he has it.
Oh, he
on
has
August
it,
2nd.
okay.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we may need to, if we're looking for a GML review from the county, we may need to put it out until the 16th.
Well, it's 30 days they have to respond, so that's
So-
their outside date.
Right, so let's continue the public hearing to Monday, September 16th.
Before we, just to address his comments, he did say the planning board. I know Max is in possession of it, but did you intend for like Bonnie Franson? Did Bonnie want to?
Not, I mean, not at this time.
Okay,
There's,
just to be, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
correct.
you.
So again, continue this public hearing to Monday, September 16th at 7 PM or immediately thereafter.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Excellent. Okay. I thank you very much, both of you, for coming. I noticed some other people came in. We have some other public hearings here today. If anyone wanted to speak during the public hearing, please come up and sign up to speak with Val. No? Okay. All right, so then the next, 4.3, is a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing in relation to the increase and improvement of the facilities of Water District Number 14. I make a motion that we open up that public hearing.
Bingham will second.
Okay, Bingham seconds. Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Val, do we have anyone signed up? Nope. Mary?
For public comment.
No, I think the residents basically want to know when they're going to be able to get a grant, and that is, no deadline has been reached yet for like WIA grants. So let's hold this open. And I don't know what dates are available in October for town board meetings.
October 7th and October 21st.
How late did you want to go out?
Let's go till the 21st.
Okay, so go ahead, make that motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing till October 21st at 7 PM or soon thereafter as applicable.
Poole will second. Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Excellent, okay. And I'll take a motion to open the public hearing regarding bonding for Water District Number 1 improvements.
Make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
excellent. Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Val, do we have anyone signed up?
So I'm going to read the first name that's signed up for public comment. I'll then read the name after that, just so that you're prepared to come up to speak. Just a reminder, you'll have 5 minutes, and just make sure that you speak into the mic. The first speaker is Eileen Policatti, please.
Eileen Policatti, Water District Number 1, that's High Ridge Road and parts of Rye Hill Road. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can. George, are you picking that up?
Angle it more towards your.
You can take it
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yes, much
Okay,
better.
great. Okay, we did receive the notification, and my question is this. Last January, I noticed that there was an 821 addition to my tax bill. When I called Anthony Cardone, he explained to me that the Water District Number 1, it needed a lot of work that had not been done previously for several years, and that was the increase. They were looking to get an engineer in and to put together a scope of work and whatnot, and that's what the money was used for. Has that been completed? I'm assuming it has, because the estimate of the 1.1 million to fix this problem is what they're looking at. Is this findings, are they available to us, or will they be addressing this, or what?
Usually answer questions at the end, so,
Okay.
okay.
And I guess the next question is the 1.1 million. There's only 74 residents in that area. What does the town propose how do they pay for this? Is this going to be through a bond and the tax burden going on to 74 residents, or will they be open to looking for grants to cover this?
Answer questions at the,
Okay. And the other one is, obviously, we've been suffering through several years of low water pressure, and just this week we got another notice, which we seem to get quarterly, stating that the Water District Number 1 again failed the water drinking standards. Will fixing this whole system fix those two problems? again.
I'm writing them down.
And that would be it for me.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Next is Paul Phelan. After Paul Phelan will be Michael Sommer.
Hi, I'm Paul Phelan from 51 High Ridge Road. The reason why I am here is just to clarify a couple of my understanding of how this is all working out. The special assessment that happened last year, for me, the tax were an increase of $875. That being said, my understanding of this was an engineering, like Eileen had mentioned, an engineering contract that was used to, I guess, survey what needed to be done, and then the repairs were outlined, and that's why we're here for the $1,100,000. Who did the engineering contract? Can we get a copy of the findings and the report? Now, with regards to the $1,100,000, well, Mary, I know you had responded to an email I had asked. Their grants are being looked at by Millennium, I believe, is who's looking for them. Okay, I know that we had gone out, or at least my understanding is we had gone out to Senator Skoufis's office and had a prior grant for some money to fund this water district. That being said, I'd like to know what that was and what that did for the repairs. Okay. Okay. I'd like to know if we thought about going to Congressman Ryan's office to see about repairs, to see about helping us with a grant for these repairs. Let's see. Has anyone investigated whether or not the infrastructure bill that the president has signed, the bipartisan law, can we go into that? Because that's supposed to be for water issues. So that's just something, I mean, these are all avenues where the burden wouldn't be on the 74 residents of the water district. And we'd like to take it off them, because I'm one of them, to take it off. Now, whether or not, are these emergency repairs that are being done? Is this an emergency? Do we have time? My understanding was it's been a long time we've been doing this review of what repairs needed to be done. That being said, if it's not an emergency, then we have some time for these grants to be looked for. And again, not put the burden on the 74 people in the water district. Oh, and the assessment that happened, the $875 that went on my taxes last year, since that was paid for already, we paid those taxes, is that coming off? Is that still on my taxes? Does that zero out? And if we have any recurring increase in taxes because of a bond or anything else we have to do, is that a one-shot deal? Does that come off our taxes after it's fully paid for? And those are the questions for me. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening.
Michael Sommer. After Michael Sommer will be Jason Bragarol.
I'm tall. I hope I can get to the microphone.
You can pull it out if you want. Yeah.
Okay, that works. Most of the questions have already been asked that I would have probably answered. The one thing
Guys, can I just, guys, when you're talking in the background, it makes it difficult for the people at home to hear. Thank you.
I guess one of the questions, somebody already asked, is this an emergency? I guess I'm worried about, because we are seeing lower water pressure in Water District 1. Is this an emergency that has to happen right away, or is this going to be done over a period of time? And then what is that period of time that this is going to happen? Secondly, help me out here. I mean, $1.1 million, I'm looking at what was proposed for that $1.1 million. It says VFD booster skids, sodium hypochlorite addition, residual chlorine monitoring, new electric, heat, insulation, doors, siding. I assume that's the hut or the shed that they put everything in. And a generator upgrade, which I applaud you for the generator, because when we lose power, we lose water. So I'm wondering, can you help me out? Why is that $1.1 million? That seems like very little for the money. And maybe I'm being naive, but I did, try to get a shed put on my property, which was 12 by 12, and they said they could do it for 15 grand. I'm sure it costs a lot more, but that's a lot of money. Can we get a breakdown of how that's all going to be spent? And then I guess my last question is basically, as my neighbors have said, it's 74 homes, and I calculated $1.1 million. That would come to about $14,865 per home. And I'm wondering, how is that all going to be paid? Is that going to be, is my taxes going to go up dramatically every year until that's paid? Is it going to be one lump sum? I hope not. But those are my questions, and I think a lot of people would be surprised if their tax bills went up really dramatically. But that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Tomm.
Thank you.
Jason Bragarol. After Jason will be Mark Klausner.
How you doing? In the summer of 2020, there was an accident.
Could you just state your name for the record, please?
Sorry, Jason Bragarol. In the summer of 2020, there was an accident in which the telephone pole was snapped outside the pump station. That had been the reason for what had initially started the deterioration of the pump station. Was that insurance money used for rehabilitating that pump station? And as well, I was informed by Mr. Cardone that there was a future development on Rye Hill Road that is now no longer in place. That was supposed to fund this. Now that's out of play. Now it's on us. A skid is not the answer. There's a million other ways to retrofit things into there at a significantly less cost. Is this the same plan of engineering from the original developer, or is this something that the town has repaid to be re-engineered again? A lot of this work can also be done in-house and piecemeal. And why is the water being treated again here at the pump station? It's already being bought from the Village of Monroe, which in turn is already being treated, yet by the time it gets to us, it needs to be retreated. I'm a little confused about that part. And then the doors in the building were recently replaced. It seems to be a concrete building. I don't know why we'd side it. A roof seems to be something that could be done in-house as well. Overall, it's just been neglect of the building and the pump station for years. This stuff could have been handled over years, and a generator is needed and should be there and should have been there already, as well as VFD controls. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Klausner.
Hello, Mark Klausner. I live on 24 High Ridge Road. First, let me just begin. I've never done anything or participated in any of this local government stuff. Second, I just got to be honest. I'm a little tainted. I just recently retired from the NYPD FBI Public Corruption Task Force, and I bring that up just because when we first, as all my neighbors have been bringing up, we got this letter regarding this, the $850 or whatever it was, we all got taxed. There was no transparency as far as if it was a one-time shot. Was this going to be for now on? We're going to be paying an extra $800 and whatever it is that we paid for every year thereafter. I don't recall, maybe it's on me, as far as any clarity as to really what that money was for. I was under the impression that this was to fix this water station. we get these letters. I know in the beginning, I think, and I can't speak for everyone, I know myself, sometimes I would throw it out regarding the water or the safety of the water. It's a little discouraging. Thank God, don't drink Monroe water. I get Poland Spring. But when you read it, this letter, in the past, I feel like the couple years, don't worry, water is not passing. As long as you just don't drink it for 30 years, maybe you might get these cancers or birth defects or what have you. I've been here already for 17 years. I'm sure some of my neighbors here have been almost here for 30 years. That is concerning. Now this 1.1 to be put on 74 of my neighbors, and including myself, I mean, $15,000 is a lot of money. I just have a hard time that is there going to be any transparency to who this contractor is going to be? I think someone brought it up as far as, are we going to get a breakdown as to how this gets to 1.1 million? Was there a public bid on this, or is this just one company that was hired to do this job? I mean, I don't recall reading anything as far as any bids. If there were multiple companies to put in this bid, how does it cost $1.1 million? I mean, I think we have the right, especially if 74 of us are going to be burdened with this $15,000 tax increase. I believe that we should have a right as taxpayers to at least have that, where there should be some transparency into how did we get, or how are we going to get this particular contract that's going to do this work. I'd like to be a part of that. I think my neighbors would love to be a part of that. But again, that's $1.1 million is a lot of money. And I'm just curious as to, and again, I'm not too familiar how this works. I know there's different districts, but I just thought, taxes are paid where they might do your road, right? And we're all paying for it. Maybe 15 years later, they'll pay my road. I just thought this is something that would be equally shared with everyone in the town of Monroe. And again, maybe the water district is different. I don't know these things. But maybe I can speak for myself to be maybe a little bit more educated on this as to why only 74 of us, and I know what the answer is because it's only 74 of us that get the water pumped up to us. Again, my neighbors, my water pressure is lousy. And obviously, like I said, the water is failing. And now we're getting foot with the potential $1.1 million bill. I hope that for a small government here, local government, that there'll be transparency here as to, again, if we have to do this, and there are no grants, money from the government, the federal government, that at least we can be a part of this bidding process. I think there should be a bidding process. I think we all know the U.S. government, it's always the lowest bidder, and you always get what you pay for. I understand that, but I like to be part of this, and again, I think I'm speaking for my neighbors, that I think we should be part of any sort of bidding that goes into this, but I'd definitely love to have a breakdown as to how or why this is going to cost $1.1 million for what I see every day when I drive to and from work, what appears to be a little shed. So, thank you, and I hope you'll be able to answer all of our questions, and hopefully there'll be a lot of transparency here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Acting Supervisor Houle, while that was the last public comment speaker, I did have a resident come up, if she can still speak.
On Water District 1? Sure, come on up.
Just please state your name in the mic, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Laura McElroy.
Can you just take the microphone down so that you can get closer to you? Yeah, you can hold it.
Sorry. Okay, hi, my name is Laura McElroy. Sorry, I'm not good at this. I live on High Ridge Road, and I've been there for a couple years, and again, we've experienced the issue with the water pressure ever since the accident that happened in 2020. And I have actually called...
You need to get closer to the mic, I'm sorry.
And I have called multiple times where, again, my kids have gone to take a shower at 7 o'clock at night, and there's no water. They've gone to brush their teeth before bed, and there's no water. And again, this was an issue for many years, and it has not been addressed. And I know, I have complained, I know other people have complained and brought it up. And now it's coming up, and I know, again, it was the accident that happened in 2020 is what kind of spurred it. And at the end of the day, like now, years later, we're being burdened with this, again, $1.1 million on 74 households, which is a lot of money. Where, again, what happened, 4 years ago, where not that would have completely fixed everything, but at least there would have been money, like if it was addressed then, to at least circumvent it. And, and I just urge you guys to look to other areas too. Like, is there other ways to retrofit or, do things where it's not this, complete revamping of things? Like, do we need this? Like, like, is there a cheaper way? And like, can we all be a part of it and have a say into, obviously we know it needs to be fixed, but at $1.1 million, I don't really think we need to spend that much money for that. So like, is there a way to do it more cost effectively, but still get to the end result that we all need? That's it.
Thank you.
Laura, can I just get the spelling of your last name, please? Thank you. That's all for public comment.
Okay, excellent.
Mary?
Mary, did you want to? Our water guru.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to be speaking more than 5 minutes because there were a lot of questions.
That
and
doesn't apply to you.
Just want to be fair with everybody. So the cost factors, I'm going to let Councilwoman Houle address that later on. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis and some of the costs involved. One of the things several people has mentioned is the accident that happened a couple of years ago. Just like if you're in a car accident and somebody hits your car door, but your tailgate doesn't work and your headlights are out of alignment and your catalytic converter is falling off the car, the insurance company's not going to pay for everything. They're only going to pay for that door that was damaged in the car accident. So when that accident happened, it took down a power pole. It kind of disrupted some of the electrical things that were inside that pump house, and it did affect the pumps. And we did get insurance money for that to make the repairs that were directly related to that accident. So that money was used, it was used appropriately, and the repairs were made according to the damage that was caused by that milk truck, I believe it was. Yes. So one of the things I learned being in government is everything's very expensive. So yeah, 1.1 million amongst 74 households seems like a lot. I came from a water district with 40 members, 40 households, and our bill was bigger than this. So it's called a benefit district. The people who live there that are receiving the water there, they're benefiting from the water, because otherwise, what would you have to do? You'd have to probably drill your own well, and from the stories I've heard from years ago, some of the wells weren't adequate. And a farmer who lived on that road basically took a hose from his facility and was able to pump some of his water into a tank that your district was using at the time. Over time, the pump house was made, and that's the way it's gone for a number of years. So you want to know how that 1.1 million comes about. Okay, the floor. You can't just have a tile floor like this. They have to have a steel grate. So that's $50,000. The building insulation and interior finishing, that's $125,000. The booster skid with the pumping modifications, $200,000. The building electrical modifications, including the heat install, $150,000. Now, I think it was last year, you had a very cold snap and your compressor froze. The heater that is in that building couldn't keep up with the temperature drop, and you were out of water. So that's why you need an upgrade with the electrical, and you're going to get a bigger heater. You also mentioned that the doors were replaced a couple of years ago. That's an overhead door. It's not insulated. When they make these improvements, they want to give you a regular door that's insulated, a swinging in and out door. Makes it easier for the operator to get in there to do his work. So I'm addressing some of these questions. They're overlapping, but just so you get an idea. The generator is $75,000, and we've been working with Senator Skoufis's office to get that money. So that's pretty close to being determined and getting, being accomplished and getting that.
I believe it was awarded, but not dispersed.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're getting close. Demolition of existing piping, $50,000. So then you always have contingencies, that's almost $200,000. Because you know and I know, every time you go in the store, what you paid last week is not what you're going to pay next month, whether it's a car tire or a banana. Everything just seems to be going up. We have to factor some contingencies in, and as I said, that's almost $200,000. The estimated construction costs, $845,000. Now, you asked about if the highway department could do the work. Highway department does not have enough personnel to work on this and do road maintenance and all the other things that they do. Depending what time of year, it could be leaf pickup, could be snow plowing. Probably not going to have work done in the winter when it's snowing, but it's a possibility. We don't have enough manpower. So also there are certain types of skills that are needed. Just because you can drive a snowplow doesn't mean you can lay masonry block. And as I said, that building is going to have a lot of electrical work. I don't think any of our highway personnel have an electrician's license. So as far as highway being able to do the work, we give them as much as they can handle, but what happens is the engineer will prepare a scope, we'll send it out to bid. We usually get 3 companies who will bid on a project. The engineer will look over as well as the attorney. They will look over the bids, make sure everything that we asked for is there, that their reputation is good, that they can do the bonding that they need to do, and then the board will decide whether it is a lowest contractor or somebody else, but it has to be one of those 3, at least, as I said, it's usually 3 that we consider. And those are factors that we will look at in determining who to award the bid to. I think that's most of the questions I can answer. As I said, I can't answer the financial, but no, it's not going to be a one-time hit. Your $1.1 million will be spread out. I just don't know over how many years, and as everybody sees, the interest rates, they can fluctuate, could be 4%, could be 4.5%, and we do have Millennium looking out for grants. Usually what we try to get is a WIA grant, or the water quality improvement from the state, and so far we haven't been able to get that for your water district, but we are still trying. Okay, and I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Houle.
One other question, Mary. Are these, one of the questions that were posed were whether or not these were emergency repairs?
Yeah, I was going to ask that as well, because I remember speaking with Paul and with you that there were some pieces that needed to be intervened upon emergently, but we all get to speak.
So some of the pumps, you can't get parts for anymore. You have a car, gets to a certain age and your mechanic has to really scrounge around to get the parts. Also, these VFD pumps are going to give you more consistent water pressure, which is a different technology than was available, 15, 20 years ago when I think those pumps were put in. I don't have the exact date, I'm sorry. But the technology changes. Same thing with some of the chlorination. The way the operator had to get into the building, he was working in a very tight space, and it's not a very conducive environment to try to check on chemicals when you're crammed in a space. So part of the reconfiguration of that building was to put some of the pipes underneath that steel gray flooring to give him more access space to, if he needs to mix the chemicals, to check the reaction with the chemicals. It's just a safety thing. So not only for you, but also for the operator. So some of the repairs, they're needed. It's not like it's going to fail tomorrow, but there is a chance it could fail very shortly. That's why we do want to get on this. We were actually trying to get it done in the spring. For whatever reason, things didn't pan out. But we do want to get these repairs done as soon as possible.
So last question, the fact that the village is treating the water, and then we have to retreat it at the pump house.
Because the Department of Health says once it gets to the pump house, it's our responsibility. When you have chlorine in the water, the longer the runtime is in a water main, your chemicals can degrade. So we have to check it again when it gets to the pump house. And as everybody knows too, the EPA has changed how many parts per million certain chemicals could be in the water. So we have to stay up to date with what the EPA wants and Department of Health wants. So those are some of the factors that determine what needs to be done as far as checking the chemicals and what chemicals need to be monitored more closely.
Okay,
So Mary,
excellent.
just to reiterate,
We'll get to you in just a second. You're good? You're good. Okay, so as far as the bonding goes, we have not secured the bond yet. Okay, so we don't know what the cost per resident will be, but the cost of this bond will be paid by the 74 users of this water district. Just like when we finally get an opportunity to do the Arrow Park Water District, the cost of that improvement will be borne by the Arrow Park Water District residents.
actually, that'll be combined with.
With other ones, but it's going to be limited to the users of those water districts.
That is a good example of how we could mitigate the costs to these residents by combining and expanding
The other
districts.
thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is that when we do go out to bid for the work, there will be a bid opening date, and those bids will be available for the public to see, and they will be included in all of the information. Do you guys go onto the town's website and take a look at the agenda? So there will be information available for you to see. If you're not able to see it online, you can come into the clerk's office and they'd be able to share that information with you. All of that is publicly available. And then you will be able to see what services are being offered, what the value of those services are when we make that decision for who's going to have that bid awarded. Okay? This is only the beginning of our public hearings for the bonding of Water District 1. We've had several for, 4 years? 14 years?
No, not 14 years, Water District 14.
Oh, Water District 14 we've also had. But
we've
we've been talking about Water District 1, Water District 8, Water District
10.
14, Water District 10, Arrow Park Water District at several meetings for several years. This has been an ongoing process. We're grateful for your comments and we're grateful for your participation, and please continue to ask your questions. Anything that we can't answer for you right then and there, we will make sure that we get the answers from the appropriate people and get back to you. You can email the questions to us, or you can come to a public hearing and ask them this way. It'll all be included in the record. Councilwoman Richardson?
Yeah, I just wanted to loop back to Councilwoman Bingham's answer to the question, are these considered emergency repairs? Because as I had mentioned, I had been in talks when I was first elected. Paul was, quizzing me, and I was like, wow, I'm learning a lot right away. And it seemed that we had to intervene emergently at one point. So we have made repairs.
Those repairs, yes.
So were we eligible at all to apply for any monies regarding those repairs, or because it had broken?
They're passed.
Yeah, so essentially anytime that we put down funds, you cannot apply for grants typically, because grants are awarded to you before you expend any funds. So,
And also, one other point is matching funds. Sometimes a grant doesn't pay for everything.
yes.
Sometimes it's a 50% matching grant, sometimes you only get 25%. So it depends what kind of grant it is. So just because you hear the word grant, don't think everything's going to be funded. There's a matching portion, and it's usually 50%.
And just to continue, I'm just going to keep doing this.
Go
I'm going
ahead.
to quiz you like Paul did to me. So will fixing this fix the water quality? Are we addressing any water quality issues there?
It'll definitely make it easier for the operator to keep check on all the parameters that the Department of Health wants. So yes, we can keep checking it and making sure the water quality stays the same or better, hopefully better.
And is water pressure being addressed with the new equipment?
Yes, the new
Excellent.
style pumps definitely will address the pressure issues.
And for the person or people who asked if they could get a copy of the findings and report and the cost breakdown, you can submit a FOIL request that is accessible on our website. So if you just type in FOIL in the corner of the Town of Monroe website, you can just simply request a copy of the engineering's finding or the engineering's report regarding Water District 1, as well as the cost breakdown, and the clerk will get you anything that is available and accessible to the public, and you just request in your wording to include any and all relevant documents to this recent hearing and cost breakdown and anything you're interested in knowing to get those documents. So for the person who said that their taxes were increased and they were unaware of it because they received this public hearing notice or a couple public hearing notices. So each year, our taxes in the town of Monroe are reassessed and published on property roll assessments, and those rolls and the special district taxes are sent out on that small postcard to every person. And essentially, it's kind of tricky. You have to know what your district is. Not many people know it, and what your special assessment districts are. And then you can come in to the clerk's office and request your specific roles, essentially. And that is how everyone in the town is noticed for certain districts, their special water districts, such as yourself, WD1. So those costs were published and noticed like they are every year at the clerk's office. If I'm saying this correctly, I'm just confirming with you that I'm using the right terminology. Like those rolls are
Well,
published.
they're actually on the town site, and they're
Okay.
online usually at the county, Orange
Okay,
County
so
site.
they're in the clerk's office, they're posted online, that kind of, but that is that postcard sent out, that those special notices, that if there's an increase, it's not necessarily mailed directly to you, it's the postcard that is noticing you. So it's a little tricky, but it's, everybody has to know that that's what that is, but that's our legal notice to you. So that is, that's that. And my only question to Mary again and the board to consider would just be, did we look at expansion or combination of the water districts with surrounding areas to mitigate costs?
Okay, the way Water District Number 1 is located, it would be only if some properties were developed on that Rye Hill property that the town purchased. So you're too far away from Water District 12, you're too far away from Water District 8, so, you'd be paying so much for a transmission line, it wouldn't benefit you, it'd be costing you more. So right now, for you, where you're located, you're like one of the first people to get water from the village of Monroe. So you're in a good position that way, but not in a good position to combine with other town water districts.
So basically, one option is for us to speak with the village.
Well, like I said, if more homes were built on the Rye Hill property,
Okay.
that could expand the water district. But there's no developer and there's no plans that I know of to build any homes on the Rye Hill property.
And I realize that there are a couple questions that I have written down that I didn't respond to. So Congressman Ryan's office, we actually saw it, I think, as a $3.8 million grant for Water District 14 through his office. And how congressional grants work is you really only get one shot every cycle. So unfortunately, we are unable to do that for your district. And then, Mr. Nugent, does it come off their taxes if they're if it's bonded?
Once the bond is paid.
Those financial questions where there was a question that they're paying $850 and we're bonding it now, was that a one-time shot? how does
I
it?
Well, that
don't-
was
I
different.
That wasn't
don't know the
bonded.
answer to
That
the
wasn't
assessment.
a bond, that was different. That was
An
to pay
assessment.
for the engineering fees.
Right, so that does not come off the taxes, because we,
I don't know that, because I don't know why it was assessed or exactly what it was for. If it was for a one-time engineer fee, it would presumably come off, if that was paid, but I don't know
so
how it
Mary,
was
do we
structured.
know if those,
So we'll wait for Supervisor Cardone to come back. He'll answer that specifically.
so
But as far as I believe it was a one-time charge.
Yeah, it was
But I
the
just want to
cost.
confirm.
it
So we
was
should
those
keep this
costs.
open then.
Yeah,
Let's-
yeah.
Let's keep this open. Mary, would you like to choose the date to keep it open to?
October 7th again?
Well, we did the other one for the 21st.
Uh,
Did you want to do the
Sep-
7th for this one or the 21st?
You people want to come back real soon? or-
We like having
So
you.
let's do a September one.
September 16th?
September 16th.
All right, excellent.
Okay.
September 6th, go ahead, you can make that
I'll
motion.
make a motion that we continue the public hearing till September 16th at 7 PM or as soon as practicable.
Second,
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. All right, item 5.1, acceptance of the July 15th, 2024 minutes. I understand there have been some corrections made, and we've been sent those corrections. Thank you very much.
So that correction that Mary, it was a typo with Sean's
Mhm.
name.
Yep.
That was corrected.
Very good.
So I just had a dispute over the subsection regarding the Morangi contract. It seemed unnecessary to put that in the meeting minutes.
So
I don't know
what
if
I
that
would
was
like
wrong.
to point out, what Councilwoman Richardson is referring to.
Thank you guys for coming.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, let's just give them a minute to
Yeah, we will.
clear.
Yep.
Get home safely. Okay.
So as I was saying, what I would like to point out, what Councilwoman Richardson is referring to is, was resolution number 2024, I'm sorry, it wasn't a resolution.
Yeah.
It's item number 9.5, the Senior Citizen Garbage District discount. So the beginning part of that
That's all fine.
discussion, the information that I have listed there, was listed on board docs in public comment. So I had copied and pasted that information there for the residents. After that indicates that for them, the residents to hear the discussion, to refer to the certain timestamp, as I usually do. Being that that information was in public comment on board docs, I chose to put it there. Now, for anyone who does not know, the town board minutes are the clerk's minutes. Yes, they go to the board for acceptance. So you can either choose to accept the minutes or not. But if you ask any other clerk, they will tell you that the minutes are the clerk's minutes. So
I-
that's what I chose to do.
Okay, I'm
So
just
as long as
saying that
there's
my
no-
point was there's a long description, which I found inaccurate. We had the discussion. I had no say as a minority member of the board over what was published on board docs or what was published on the agenda because I am not consulted, and I certainly was not consulted when a public announcement was made that the social media information posted was inaccurate, as it was not inaccurate, as I posted that to facilitate the senior citizen discount for senior citizens, and I did my due diligence and I spoke with Jackie from Morangi, and I just disagree, and I didn't find it, if it's an item on for discussion, every other one doesn't have any information, it just says see the discussion. So that's all that I am disputing, is that I don't think it's an accurate statement. I don't think it's your statement, but
Not my statement,
Yeah,
but I can look.
Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as
Well,
As
I
sent
think,
to us?
I think she wants to amend them. Do you
yes,
want to
motion.
amend them?
I would like that section to be removed. I sent an email just earlier.
Well, there's no reason to remove it if there's any inaccuracies in the statement, and the statement was pulled directly from what was posted prior to the meeting. So since there's no inaccuracies in the statement,
There
that's
is
really all we
inaccuracies
get.
in the statement. Just because it's posted prior to the meeting doesn't mean there's no inaccuracies in the statement. I just said I have the right to represent myself and my constituents regarding town matters, regardless of who the contract liaison is and who oversees the information and procedures of the contract. The information shared on social media was not incorrect. It came from Marangi directly. It is identical to the formal document produced, which we did not vote on, and it was actually issued by Marangi. I don't agree with including the statement in the minutes, as the actual substance of the meeting did not confirm this as accurate. No other subsection regarding community information includes this type of subsection. She's addressed that's not her statement. I would just like it to simply direct the viewer to that section of the meeting, and that's all I ask.
And I believe that Supervisor Cardone at that meeting read that statement,
Yes, which I,
and that's why it's in the minutes.
Yep.
but
But it
why is
doesn't
his
say-
statement in the minutes and none of our statements are in the minutes? Because we had an entire discussion, and I'll say again, liaisons don't prevent town board members from doing their job.
That was listed in board docs, that's why I chose to copy and
I
paste
know why
it.
you chose, but I'm just saying.
And once again, because I'm not going to argue about this, the minutes are the clerk's minutes. Check with any town clerk.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of the July 15th.
I'll second.
I'll make a subsequent motion or a motion inside a motion, I don't know what that's
Well,
called, that we
we'll have
amend
to-
it.
We'll have to first.
I think that
decide
there is
on
a
this.
Roberts rule
Call the question?
mechanism for
Nay.
making a motion within a motion.
Scangarello, aye.
Whole aye.
Point of order, can you make a motion within a motion?
On what the motion is.
What about this case?
I mean, it depends what you're
My
moving.
motion is that we amend it before we approve it.
Amend this motion?
No, we
He
amend
wants
the
to amend my
minutes.
minutes.
Go ahead, make your motion.
Well, no, you can't. You can move to amend this motion, otherwise you'd have to wait for this motion, and you can make your own motion, or you can move to table. There's certain.
So,
It's a bit odd because I was still speaking and she's interrupted me several times and then made a motion during my time to
so
speak.
Councilwoman Richardson, we have a nay, we have two ayes. You would be the next
So
one
that's
to
what
vote.
I'm actually calling a point of order. So we have to stop for a second and address the order of the operations now.
So
because
my
I've called a
suggestion is,
Point of order.
chances are you would vote nay, and then we would not have, hold on, hear me out.
I've
Hear
called
me
a
out,
point
hear
of
me out,
order,
hear me out.
Chairwoman.
We
and
will
this
not
is-
have, the motion will not carry, and then you can make your motion to amend it.
Okay, fine. But I would like in the future for point of orders to be honored because once again, if maybe
wanna
if we
vote?
need, if we had called a discussion and I had said for discussion and then I would have been formally speaking and if you'd interrupted me that way, it would have been clearer. But because I don't even think anybody seconded this
It did.
for discussion, so but in the future, we need to stop and address those
Okay.
points of order.
So we'll take your vote.
Yeah. Nay?
Okay, so the motion does not carry. Make your motion.
I would like to make a motion to remove the statement from the minutes as I just explained previous to this motion, that it is inaccurate. There was no vote held to affirm that this was the official legal position of the town, and I feel it both violates my legal rights to represent my position and to perform my job function. Liaisons do not prevent town board members from doing their job. The published information was accurate, and it was published at the behest of Marangi directly.
Is there a second?
Bingham will second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, nay.
Whole nay.
Richardson, aye.
So the motion does not carry.
Make a motion to table the minutes.
We can table the minutes. Who will second? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Who aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. All right, where are we?
6.1.
Yes. So we have the general fund abstract. The Town Board of the Town of Monroe will make a motion to approve the abstract number 24-10, general fund containing checks 35530 through 35618, totaling $844,099.68.
Second.
Thank you. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Who aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Next, we have the escrow fund abstract. Make a motion that we approve the abstract 24-04 escrow fund containing checks 2154 through 2156, totaling $1,155.44.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Then we have, I make a motion to approve abstract number 2024-06 in the amount of $1,045,000 to move cash back to funds from NICLAS investments to cover future expenditures in 2024.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, excellent. All righty, now we're on to the budget transfer abstract. Make a motion that we approve the budget transfer abstract 2024-15 for 2024 expenditure adjustments totaling $18,000.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Excellent. Okay, now we're on to new business, item 9.1. We have the resignation of Deborah Carey, who is a clerk for the Justice Court. I'd like to make a motion that we, hold on. Okay. That we accept the resignation of Deborah Carey, Justice Court Clerk, effective August 17th, 2024.
Will second.
Call the question?
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Thank you. And now we have a resolution approving Jean Rabbit to be hired as a bookkeeper for the Justice Court to reconcile the Justice Court accounts. She will be working 20 hours a month at $25 an hour. The total cost is $500 a month. This will be a contract vendor, not really a hire, but a contractual vendor opportunity. So we do not need to have pre-approval from Orange County Civil Service.
Okay, I'll second.
Motion to accept.
Yes, so I made the motion, Sal seconded. Call the question?
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. And we have a request from the Justice Court for Raquel Diaz, court clerk, to attend the New York State AMCC Annual Conference and training taking place September 29th through October 3rd at the Sheraton, Niagara Falls. The conference registration fee is $100. The hotel lodging package, which is 3 nights including meals, is $690. I'm thinking that we can approve this with an amount not to exceed $1,000. The funding for the conference would be covered by the Justice Court other expense account, which is line A000-1110-4109-00. So I make a motion that we approve Raquel Diaz to attend this conference.
Bingham will second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Very good. Okay, lots of education happening in the town of Monroe. So now we have, hold on, I lost my place. Royce Noblin and Carla McNamara. Royce is the town assessor and Carla is the assistant assessor. They would like to attend the 2024 New York State Assessors Association Fall Conference, which is taking place September 23rd through September 26th at the Woodcliff Hotel and Spa in Fairport, New York. The following costs will be incurred for 2 attendees at this conference. So each attendee, the cost of the conference will be $400. The hotel at $119 per night will be $714. The anticipated meal cost is approximately $72 a day, $220 per person for a $444 total. The estimated gas cost for the town vehicle will be about $40. So we're anticipating that the cost of this will be about $1,600. These costs are going to be paid through the expenditure account A000 1355-4189-00, which is assessor education, dues, meetings, and mileage. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the attendance of Royce Noblin and Carla McNamara at the New York State Assessors Association Fall Conference for a not to exceed, these are kind of guesstimates, so not to exceed, I'll say $1,800. Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Excellent, so moved. There's a playground set out here outside of Town Hall. We don't quite often get to play on the playground set, so
I do it all the
kind of-
time.
It's kind of a waste being here, and it could be better enjoyed by kids at a different location. So we've spoken with Smith Clove Park, and they think that they have a great spot for it. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the transfer of the playground set at Town Hall to the Monroe Joint Parks and Recreation Commission for installation at Smith Clove Park.
Bingham will second.
Mary Bingham got that one before, so. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
I'll miss it outside my office, but aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, do each of you have the draft in front of you for the Pilati Village pilot?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment that we did discuss being able to purview this prior to it coming to the floor to vote.
So did you want to table it?
If your intention was to vote on it tonight rather than just discuss and announce general.
Well, it is under new business, so it can be just a discussion of it.
What's your flavor? Because I wanna table it, but if you wanna speak on it.
We've had conversations at it, but I'm happy to give you some time to read it over.
I do have one question for the attorney.
Sure.
Can we, okay. This goes up to 40 years. What happens in year 41?
Taxable, he said.
Regular taxable?
Yeah, there we go.
Right, okay.
That's a program that would end after that year, then it would go on the rolls at whatever the assessed value is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to make the motion to table this because I was not included on any discussions. Mary, were you?
I saw this for the first time in my packet, so yeah, to
Yeah.
table it and read it over, I'm fine with that.
So Councilwoman Richardson made that motion. Mary, you want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, excellent, so moved. All righty, we have, we need to approve the $2,500 for an engineer's report prepared by Stephen A. Mafia, P.E. He's a consulting engineer, and this is to encompass a review of the following items for Forest Chateau, which is a development north of us. So we have the study format, the scope of the study, the existing conditions, the crash history, background growth, other development, trip generation, trip distribution and assignment, level of service analyses, identification of project impacts, mitigation, proposed offsite improvements, access and parking. There needs to be a traffic study done regarding this. It's affecting a road that's within the town of Monroe. So we'll need to approve this engineer's report. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the expenditure of up to $2,500 for the engineer's report prepared by Stephen A. Mafia, P.E.
Second for discussion.
Sure.
Can that report
Oh,
also?
let's call the question on that.
I'm sorry. Oh, so we didn't call the original question. She's seconding nothing?
She's second for discussion. Yep, so we'll call the question.
I'm sorry. If she seconded for the discussion,
Don't we have our discussion?
don't we have our discussion first?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. So my question is, can that scope also include the number of accidents in that area?
It does.
It does?
So
Okay.
yes, there's a history of
A
accidents
history of
on that
accidents.
road.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, now call the question.
Aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. So moved. Item 9.8, there was a determination by the federal government that we need to have an inventory of water lines, water service lines that are lead-based. The supervisor and the highway superintendent would like to have MHE work on that inventory. So what we'd like to do is we would like to provide, we'd like to approve the supervisor signing the agreement for engineering services between the town of Monroe and MHE Engineering for professional services related to lead service line inventory.
Second for discussion.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming this will only be paid by the water districts, so the amount of time should be broken down as to how much time is actually spent.
Well, this is actually going to be an inventory of all of the properties in the town of Monroe.
She's asking how the cost breakdown would
Yes, but
apply
it
to
won't-
taxpayers.
But people
It
who
will be
have their
only
own
for the
private
people,
well-
not,
One at a time.
not to my understanding.
What was the question? I couldn't
Couns-
hear.
Counselor?
Service lines, I'm not sure if that would include wells, if they were lead lines, because wells
I
still
would
have,
imagine, yeah.
still have service lines that come in, but I don't know if they're excluded from that study.
I don't know. My discussions have naturally been with the water district, so that's my question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that for the purposes, if you're going to authorize it, unless you don't want to authorize it without knowing the apportionment, of the cost for the engineers, then you would need to table, because I don't.
I have other questions related. I mean, was the intent, what to obviously remediate the lead lines, but as we're doing with the PFAS, was their intent to sue or search for grant money? Like, we don't.
I don't think the intent was to sue.
No, this is a mandate from the State Department of
Oh,
Health. that we
yes,
have
yes,
to-
and we
I think
have
it's
a
by
deadline.
October is the deadline, that you have to have a lead LSLI.
Oh, you have to, all right.
Yes.
But so then tabling it upon cost breakdown would only really change our decision of who we retain to do the inventory. Would you
Well,
still like to
no, it
table
still
it?
has
No,
to
I think it
be-
would only change how the money is charged to your residents, is what Councilwoman Bingham's asking
But
about.
us deliberating and tabling it would not change that, because the engineering agreement does not dictate how it is charged, is my point. If we have
No,
to
they
do
wouldn't.
this study,
This will be the
then we
entire
have
town.
to do it.
Yeah, I'm saying you should do it tonight,
Yeah,
approve
and
the
there's
study.
no reason to table it.
And the
Be-
deadline for
yeah.
this is October.
Yes, so there's no reason to table it, because this particularly is not addressing her concerns.
Right, and you can
Yes.
figure out the apportionment after,
Yes.
approving
Right,
the
and this
study.
is just to prepare the survey that will go out to the property owners. This will just prepare the research that MHE will
This top
do
research.
regarding which homes were built after the banning of lead lines for service lines. That's what this is for. This is not meant to make any remediations at all.
And for example, apportionment might be tough by district, because it's also not new homes or things that, were subject to copper lines by regulation. This is only old homes that were pre-copper requirement that would be affected for this survey. So it might be hard to figure out, unless you have entire districts that are old, I guess. But I think that question can be tossed around, but at least the survey can begin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will,
Have a resolution.
have a resolution for that, Brian?
Bottom? No.
I can,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I could state one, and then someone can adopt it. So the resolution
Yes.
would be to approve and authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with MHE Engineering for professional services related to lead service line inventory in a final form approved by Town Legal Counsel.
I will make that motion.
And we'll second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. All righty. Mary, had you asked for this next
Yes.
item to be added?
Yes. One of the prior meetings, we adopted Chapter 41. So in the past 2 weeks, I've gone out to the town engineer, the building inspector, as well as Roberta McBride in finance, because these application fees need to be added to the fee schedule, which Valerie Bitzer will change after we approve it tonight, hopefully. So when somebody, should they decide they want to do their own private sewage disposal system, if they have 4 lots or less, based on my discussions with the people I mentioned earlier, it would be $500. For 5 lots or greater, or any kind of site plan, it would be $1,000. Then there will be an escrow set up in our finance department, and McGooey Hauser engineering firm will determine how much escrow needs to be held in order for them to do a complete review of the proposed system. So the only thing we would be approving tonight is a fee schedule addition for Chapter 41 application fees. 4 lots or less, $500. 5 lots or greater, as well as site plans, $1,000. So I'll make that motion.
Who
Or
will
do you want to
second?
include the MHE just in the fee schedule that, in addition, a escrow amount will be determined by the town engineer? Like to place that in the fee
I
schedule?
think that might not be a bad idea, yes. So I'll amend my motion to also include that McGooey Hauser Engineering will determine the escrow amount.
Okay, who will second? Call the question.
My,
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. All righty. And Mary, you had also asked for the next 2 items to be added onto the agenda, so grant opportunities.
I don't really know of any grant opportunities that are out there because now Supervisor Cardone isn't here, so I didn't get a statement from Millennium for the month of August. Usually that comes out at the beginning of the month. So
I've never received those statements until I
We
requested
received
them.
That
one last month.
Last month,
Yeah.
yes.
We received one last month.
He's been receiving them for years and has not been
What-
putting them out to the board members until I
So,
requested the monthly updates.
I know Millennium is working on identifying a grant for the Conservation Commission to be able to do a tree inventory. That's something that the Conservation Commission has been talking with Millennium about. Any other grant opportunities, we can get an update from Supervisor Cardone at the September 3rd meeting.
That would be fine, just
Okay?
to date, and as people in Water District 1 are really interested, and they
Yep.
would like to know as well.
So in the same vein, I would like to make a motion that we draft an internal procedure for grant opportunities and for the communications regarding the consultants, because once again, routing it through the supervisor's office does not work, even though he is legally obligated and ethically obligated to keep his board informed. We receive emails that he will actively and punitively withhold information when he's displeased with board members.
I think you're going a little
I'm speaking,
too far.
Councilwoman. I'm not going far. I can actually read an email into the record if you'd like to go that far. So I would like to motion that we have a drafted internal procedure for grant opportunities and for using the consultant services that is equitable to all board members. And that be drafted, what should I say, by council? Is that an appropriate motion? How would I phrase that? If I would like an internal procedure to be drafted regarding internal.
Up to the board, I mean, either you can,
Well, I'm making the motion.
outline.
I'm making the motion that I'd like one to be drafted. So if I make that motion, would I say with oversight by council, like how would it be?
yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think anybody can outline the points and then I can review it, so you can just say to be prepared and reviewed by town council.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that, I can draft an internal procedure that I feel is equitable and fair for use of the grant services and other consultants, and that it would be overlooked by council and added to the next meeting's agenda.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, nay.
Who'll nay?
Richardson, aye.
So you'll have to bring this up at another meeting then.
Oh, man, I guess it's next meeting.
All right, and then the last item that you wanted to discuss was short-term
The
rental
rental
tax.
I think it should be called a hotel short-term rental Airbnb.
It's a hotel
all-inclusive.
motel tax.
Right.
This
So
is a
that's-
project
well-
that I was working on.
I called on Councilwoman Bingham, too. She had asked that this be,
Right, for discussion.
yes.
Because the last group of emails, we kind of had several different ideas as to how this money should be spent. And part of it was for purchase of land by the town, a constable, because we keep getting noise complaints, and the building inspector. So I just wanted that outlined, and then I wanted input from the board, and then based on that, I might have a follow-up question with the attorney. So those are the three things the money could be
Yeah,
used
so
for.
we're definitely going to need to be able to fund that constable, and the constable group, the department, essentially. And then I think if we are able to use that money toward land preservation, I think that would be a great idea.
And then I
You're
think-
responding like back and forth conversationally after every single
Hold on,
person
Mary
is,
has another,
No, well,
after
I
every
was-
single
I was going to
person,
say,
but if you're
Councilwoman
calling on-
Richardson had a comment, something about the general fund, so I wanted to see what she said about the general fund.
I just want to just point out that if we're going to go, down the line, then we go down the line. We don't, the chairperson doesn't engage in back and forth and address like this if you're going to
you wanna make
preclude
your
other
comments?
board members. Well, I'm going to say, is there anyone else who would like to make their statements and finish their statements before?
Mary has
I
said
made
that you
the
have a comment.
statement
Sorry, Mary, what?
about the town land, the constable, the building inspector.
Okay, so does anyone else have comments on this topic? Okay, so this was a project I have been working on. I set, when I came into office, several meetings with state officials as a newly elected to identify needs in Monroe. State Senator Skoufis just passed legislation along with Assembly member in whoever serves in Chester. I'm sorry, I don't know you and your district, but they passed that for Chester. It is a short-term rental. It's a hotel motel tax that includes short-term rentals in that umbrella. Their version, the bill cites that the funding should go to the general fund. I've spoken with Assembly member Carl Bravenak about this, as well as Assembly member Ekis, and once again, State Senator Skoufis. I am the one who actually asked for this to be on the agenda several months ago, and was not able to get it on the agenda. So I'd like to also make a motion that there be an internal procedure drafted for equitable and fair agenda item access by board members, because there is not at present. So would you call the question for that?
Well, I'll second for,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think we need to finish our discussion
No, we
here.
don't. I don't think we do. We can have a
Are we
motion to come out of
done
a discussion.
discussing?
No, but you can have a motion within a discussion as far as I'm aware.
You have an agenda item, you're
We're on this,
It's not
I'd
to
like to
vote.
finish.
It's not to vote. It's a
All right, so
discussion.
I'm running
Not
this
to vote.
meeting, just so that we can
You're now
understand where this
yelling.
is going.
You're now
I'm
yelling.
running this
You
meeting.
need to lower your voice.
So we're
You
going
need to
to
lower your
finish
voice.
our discussion of the agenda item, which is the short-term rental tax.
Point of
which-
order.
And we will then, as a point of order, go on to
Point
the
of order.
next motion that you'd like to make. So does
Point
anyone
of
have
order. the constable and the building inspector. Actually, I wasn't done with my original comments regarding the
I
constable.
gave you an opportunity to finish
No,
your
you
discussion.
actually just started yelling
Councilwoman
at this
Bingham,
meeting.
please.
But if it goes in the general fund, would the town board still have control to say, like, a third of the money can go towards the land preservation, a third of the money can go to the building inspector's department, and a third could go to the constable? Or once it's in the general fund, it's up for grabs for however the budget is done in November?
Yeah, I think we first need to even see if those proposals are realistic for the hotel motel tax. I mean, usually when you're talking about preservation, it goes to community preservation funds, which is a statutory fund set up, and then the tax goes into those. I can't say I've seen one where money was going, specifically in that legislation to a building department or to
No,
things like that.
we are trying to say, because we had a discussion prior to this meeting, and I do want to pinpoint that constable issue because I did email you about our whole agreement with the state police and how that might interfere, and so that's another item. Councilwoman Bingham and I had discussed that the most general and reasonable and easiest thing to do would be to make a motion requesting, like regardless of what we are deliberating on, actually, that we would make a motion alerting our state legislators formally, draft a letter with a resolution that we are intending to seek this legislation. It does not, and then, it does not have to include the specifics as of yet, but that we are engaging them to work so that when we call them, and as you had mentioned, it's not a waste of their time and they're aware that the town of Monroe is seeking this legislation. We can then debate percentage-wise, if they would allow us to have a community preservation fund, a PDR percentage out of, percent X goes to the general fund, percent Y goes to the community preservation fund, and we could debate all that. But I guess Councilwoman Bingham and I are concerned, we would like to just vote that it goes to the general fund, but we would like to see it allocated, essentially, after that. But if it goes to the general fund, there are no guarantees. It's just down to how it's budgeted in November, essentially.
Ultimately, it's coming back, if it was a general fund contribution, it's coming back to the board anyway for how it gets allocated in the
Right,
budget.
but when you're the minority, you don't. We're not the board.
Well, that's true of anything in the
Yes.
budget, right? I mean, anything you do is obviously, minority, majority, it is not going to get approved if you don't have the votes on it. But, so I don't know what you're asking. In other words, you want
She's just having that fact confirmed. She just wanted to know if there was a way to have it, dog-eared, or if it would,
I think the only way to do that, if it's possible, would be in the
legislation, which I don't
But of course,
think it
brings you
is.
back to here to what you're telling your representative that you wish to have done.
I've just never seen that. I've never seen just specifically to pay our building
No,
inspector.
I haven't either, so.
Well, I don't think it would be used to pay the building inspector per se, but as we're discussing, it would go into the general fund, and then the general fund would be used to fund the town of Monroe. So whether those specific monies get sent to specific lines, I mean, the general fund just gets dispersed, so it would help to increase the revenue of our general fund.
Yes, but Councilwoman...
That's what I would imagine.
Yes, Councilwoman Bingham wanted to know if we could dog-ear the funds in the legislation or upfront,
if
which
it's
is not
going into
possible.
I think what town council is trying to say is that if it's going into the general fund, we don't need to dog-ear it, because the general fund is the fund
No,
that is...
that's not what...
Well, I think my point was whether you try to dog-ear it now and you're in the minority and don't have approval per se, or you try to do it in the budget, I'm not sure I see the difference, because either way, if you think it's not going to be approved.
Unless it goes in the legislation, and then, it's the same,
Right,
and it
but-
doesn't go in the legislation.
Right, to
It's
get it
just
in the
not how it works.
legislation, they're going to say, what does your board want to do with the
Yeah.
money? And so I think it's going to come back to the same question.
They don't need to know. They don't ask. They're just
Right.
like, it goes in the general fund if it's going in the general fund. And
So-
I've never seen it but we can do a percentage breakdown into other funds if it were allowed. So, but I think what we should do here tonight is announce that it's our intent. And we do not have to state the specifics. We just say that it's our intent
And to
to
pursue
see.
the,
Yes, and then
Do we
that
need
resolution.
a motion for that?
don't, but, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you
put it this
told me
way,
we did.
the state representatives don't require it, at least SCUFUS doesn't require it.
ECUS, I mean, they just prefer it, I guess, so they don't, like you said, waste They all just prefer that the resolution is
Yeah, I
there.
mean, it's up to them. Some are different. Some say we'd like to see a resolution. Some say, no,
Doesn't
if
hurt.
somebody calls me, I'll
Yeah.
introduce it.
It doesn't hurt to just say that
Right.
we're all on the same
Well-
page about this, and that we want the legislation, and that we are going to work out the specifics of the legislation.
I think that this was a good discussion, and I think we should continue it.
Okay.
Let's go on to old business.
Can we put it on the agenda for?
September
Sep-
6th,
sep-
3rd, September 3rd?
September 3rd, fine.
Wait,
Yep.
so we're not making the motion to declare in short-term?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Not tonight.
So continue till September 3rd. I'll make the motion that we continue the discussion at September 3rd.
Will a second? Call the question. I'm
Bingham,
sorry.
Scancarello, aye.
Who'll I?
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Old business 10.1, zone change for project 230160, which is 18 Stairway. Hello. How are you? You can continue.
Good evening.
If you could just state your name and make sure that that microphone is turned on. Yep, good.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Town Board. My name is Scott Cecina. I'm covering for David Higgins today from Lankin Tully Engineering. We're here on behalf of Nick Gordon and Alice Serpy. They are the owner of what is the property that has Masterclass indoor pistol shooting range. It's a 2.7 acre lot located in the GB zoning district in the town of Monroe. The owner of the lot had constructed a 30-foot wide by 40-foot long by 14-foot high garage, which received building department approval. Looks to be back in 2016. Since that time, it was used to store miscellaneous equipment for the shooting range. Since that time, they've used it less and less. They decided that they were going to lease it out to a landscaper. In said time, the building inspector notified them that that is not a proper use for the site. So that is why we are here before you today. We are looking to get the GB zoning district to have the use table amended to add a contractor storage yard to the uses. The uses are consistent with other zones neighboring the parcel currently. They are a use that is a special use, so it's not a as-of-right use. There's a couple more steps that have to be followed to get the approval. And we are here today just looking to see if you have rendered a decision.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody have any questions?
No, we kind of discussed the special use permit at the last meeting,
Yep.
and they were agreeable, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement.
So?
I'm in agreement.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is, do we have a resolution for this?
I think the law, I believe the draft was amended for the special permit provisions, so you could put it on if you
For
want.
the September 3rd?
9-3, yeah.
Okay.
For a resolution to adopt.
All right, very good. Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, I would, no, I'm sorry, you don't, because it's already, public hearing is closed,
Okay,
so
yes.
just be on the next agenda. But
Okay.
if you want to make something formal, I believe Val's already got that down.
She's got it down. Of course she does. All right, excellent. Thank you very much. So we will have a resolution
What
prepared
was the date of that meeting?
September 3rd.
3rd, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. All righty, and so item 10.2 is, we have the tree law is on the agenda again tonight. Mary, have you heard back from?
I have not seen anything from the planning board. They were supposed to write a letter, so I have not seen anything.
Okay,
Ms. Franson had a medical issue, I believe,
Okay.
with her back or something, so she was unable, so she asked if we could extend the time to the next meeting for her to respond.
the September 3rd.
September 3rd, yeah.
Okay,
Are we on the tree law?
yeah, so we're
Yeah.
tabling it again
I
until
have
September
comments,
3rd.
if you don't mind, about the tree law public hearing, that Ben was also not looped in. the building department, and he said that the first redo of the tree law was obviously a big undertaking, and that while they do have approval to hire staff, they're actually struggling to get the manpower that they need. They're sending out offers, but they're not being responded to, and so they are concerned. So I would like to, formally send this to the building inspector to loop him in, and honestly, just everything that I've been hearing in regards to that, the Conservation Commission director had months ago tried to sort of involve the planning board and speak with different parties that were going to be overseeing basically the procedure and how it would look with no avail. I think we still do need a workshop meeting, and I think we probably will need to open this again, because
And we might.
do we have to open it again to make any changes as a board?
You have to reopen it if any of those changes are what we would call material. I mean, if you had an error and you were changing,
So
section
material-
numbers, but if you're changing substantive content, you would need to renotice, republish, and
Right.
reopen
Yeah.
the hearing.
And based on what Chairwoman Franson had said in a meeting that she had with Dennis and another member of the Conservation Commission, is that she does want to alleviate some of the responsibility on the building department. So I think it's probably in our best interest to get the planning board's responses back and then share that with the building department.
Yeah, I mean, if the response comes, I think that we should just send the tree law right away, as soon as possible, formally to Ben, to get his input on it. And then when Bonnie or Ms. Franson's comments are available, then they can both cooperate on that. My point is that, we are the legislators, we are the ones who are ultimately responsible for both writing and making sure the law is legal, and then we are putting our names on this when it's approved. And I would just want our departments and the usability and the feasibility of the law to be considered fully. And I just don't, everything I'm hearing was that this was not a cooperative effort, it was not a collaborative effort, and that parties have not been given a chance or have not been able to, for whatever reason, to weigh in.
I would
I'm
disagree
speaking.
with that.
I'm
I know.
speaking.
I know.
So I would, how would we go about reopening this?
First would be a resolution to set the public hearing and to reopen consideration of that tree law, and that's really it. You'd set the public hearing date, and then it would have to get published in the paper again. Just normal local law process, it's just a reopening.
Okay,
And we
so
can do that once we receive Chairwoman Franson's. It's premature for us to reopen the public
Whose
hearing.
time is it? Did you already make your comments?
Apparently, it's been your time the entire night.
I disagree with that.
Let's-
Are you done
let's
speaking?
not argue.
No. Are you done speaking? Are you?
I'm letting you know that it's premature for us to reopen.
Are you done speaking?
No.
So please go ahead. Finish your comments.
You done? It's premature for us to reopen the public hearing. We need to wait to hear back from Bonnie Franson, and then once we do, if those changes are substantive, then we can reopen the public hearing. We can send it to the building department for his review, absolutely, but there is no need for us right now to reopen the public hearing. If there is a need, if there does prove to be a need with the changes to the law, then yes, we will reopen the public hearing.
Are you done?
Now I am.
Excellent. So if we wanted to draft a formal resolution at any point, Mr. Nugent, one would just motion that that be drafted, or we just contact you and do this behind the scenes and then agree on it?
That resolution's very simple.
Okay.
You just set a public hearing and a date. A lot of times, we don't even have a written resolution for that. It's just done as a motion.
Okay, what's done as a motion?
I'm sorry?
What is done as a motion? I missed
Set a
it.
public hearing date.
To set it, okay,
Yeah,
so
for
it's
the
a
local-
formal resolution that just sets a public hearing date.
And
So I
then-
would like to make a motion
But let me just qualify that.
that,
Before.
I'm not making a motion for that. I'm making
No, I
a
know,
motion
I'm just telling you,
for something
before
else.
we could get to the public hearing date, 8 days before that, we need to have the law in some format, so we need to know what the changes are prior to the public hearing, so you can set it, that's all.
No, I'm making a motion that we formally refer it to the building inspector for his review, as well as formally referring it to planning chairwoman Bonnie Franson, just because that was apparently conveyed to the Conservation Commission director that was our internal procedures, that the board needs to formally refer it. So if that's what is necessary, I'd like to make that motion.
I guess I'll second, because we definitely need the planning board's letter. Yeah.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item number 10.3 is the revision of the standard workday reporting resolution for James McKnight.
Well, I can speak on that, Council
Yes, thank you.
Supervisor, Acting Supervisor, sorry. So the previous record of activities result listed the total number of hours for his 3 months, not the actual calculated number of hours. So you'll see attached the revision, and that's what I'm looking to have approved to send to the State Comptroller.
So then I'll make a motion that the Town Board of the Town of Monroe approve the revised 2024 standard workday reporting resolution for James McKnight.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
And then finally, we have our last motion under old business is a motion for tax collector Valerie Bitzer to close the old tax collector duplicate payment disbursement account ending in 3530 as funds were previously transferred to general fund savings account ending in 8935 in the amount of $6,228.62.
That was approved at the prior meeting. This is now to close the account.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye. And a point of order on the tree law issue, when we voted to table, did we finish voting?
To be honest with you, I don't remember.
You don't have to table, I mean, you're not taking action, but
No.
it is on tonight. You want to put it on the next agenda and make a motion
Yeah,
for
sorry,
that
so was a
purpose?
question called? That's what I'm asking. Did we finish whatever we were
We
doing?
only called the question for the one motion that you made.
Okay, I thought I came in and you're voting to
We
add
weren't
it to the
taking a
next
vote.
agenda.
We had merely stated that we did not receive anything back from the planning board yet.
Okay, so we don't need to vote to add it to the next agenda?
Do that, if you
We don't have
want
to,
the
though.
clerk to, but
We actually, we did have that discussion in that we don't need a motion on it. Val has already made a note to put it on the next agenda, September 3rd.
Okay.
So
Wanted to
we're
make sure
good.
we closed the original motion if there was one, but there was
Okay.
not.
So, public comment.
No public comment.
Sweet. Okay. So since there is no public comment, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn to executive session to discuss litigation.
the question before
Yeah.
we close, who's referring the law specifically, just so we know, to the building inspector and the planning board?
I can just send it, like forward it to them?
I
or,
think
like-
it should come
Val.
from you, Brian.
We like when you email stuff.
Send it,
Thank you.
otherwise we'll be back. Supposed to do that.
Thank you, Brian. Okay,
Second.
thank you. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Thank you very much. Yep. Ready. Make a motion that we return to the regular meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Monroe at 9:30 PM. Call the question.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Sorry.
We're good. Richardson, aye.
Okay, so we have a couple of resolutions to pass. The first is, I'll make a motion that all whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference as those set forth in full herein. Special Counsel Fierick Nugent McCartney, PLLC, is hereby authorized to appear on behalf of the town and Supervisor Anthony Cardone, and shall be compensated for all services performed in this action with regard to the aforesaid proceeding entitled Village Monroe et al. Versus the Town of Monroe et al. Under index number EF006346-2024, including any appeals if necessary as set forth in the Town Board Resolution and Agreement appointing special counsel. This resolution shall take place effective immediately.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. I make another motion. The above whereas clauses are incorporated herein as if set forth in full. The town board hereby authorizes special counsel Fierick Nugent McCartney to take any and all measures necessary to bring a legal proceeding in the Supreme Court of the County of Orange and/or any other appropriate forum to pursue a judicial order and such other relief necessary to enjoin and cease the continued building and development unless and until any and all appropriate approvals are obtained in relation to such use. The town supervisor and any other employee, official, or consultant as directed by the supervisor is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions of this resolution. This resolution shall be effective immediately.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. And finally,
Because it's in as,
uh-huh.
was that just Carlsberg?
That was Carlsberg.
Yeah, we should just reference it's concerning
Yes.
the development of
So-
Carlsberg Acres LLC.
Do I need to amend that motion?
No, the resolution's before the board, and you have that information just for the public. Because it didn't indicate what it was about, and then the next one will be concerning a Forest Chateau's development on Forest Road, so you can proceed with that one.
Yes. Oh. So, in reference to Forest Chateau and Forest Road, the above whereas clauses are incorporated herein as set forth in full. The town board hereby authorizes special counsel Fierick Nugent McCartney to take any and all measures necessary to bring a legal proceeding in the Supreme Court of the County of Orange and/or any other appropriate forum to pursue a judicial order and such other relief necessary to enjoin and cease the continued building and development unless and until any and all appropriate approvals are obtained in relation to such use or any improvements in the town of Monroe are removed. The town supervisor and any other employee, official, or consultant, as directed by the supervisor, is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions of this resolution. This resolution shall be effective immediately. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, with no other business before.
I just have a motion from the floor.
Forward.
Yeah. So to read a resolution, do I have to make a motion that I can read the resolution from the floor, or just start reading it?
Either way, you can
Okay.
advise it, or you can, well, if the board doesn't have it, then I guess you'd have to read it.
Yeah, so I basically have been seeing in the community what's been going on with Museum Village. And this is just a resolution calling on the town of Monroe to allocate any available American Rescue Plan funds to the preservation of Museum Village. Whereas Museum Village is a significant cultural and historical landmark within the town of Monroe, showcasing the rich heritage and history of the area. And whereas the preservation and maintenance of Museum Village are crucial for the education and enjoyment of current and future generations. And whereas Museum Village contributes to the local economy by attracting tourists, providing educational programs, and hosting community events. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has adversely affected cultural institutions, including Museum Village, necessitating additional support to ensure their continued operation and preservation. And whereas the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, provides federal funding to assist communities in recovering from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, including supporting public health, economic recovery, and addressing community needs. And whereas allocating additional ARPA funds to the preservation of Museum Village aligns with the goals of ARPA by supporting a vital community asset and contributing to the economic and cultural recovery of the town of Monroe. And whereas the town of Monroe recognizes the importance of investing in its cultural heritage, local land preservation, and ensuring that Museum Village remains a vibrant, accessible resources for all residents and visitors. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Monroe as follows. The Town of Monroe hereby calls on the appropriate town officials to allocate any additional ARPA funds received by the Town of Monroe to the preservation, maintenance, and enhancement of Museum Village. The Town Board acknowledges the importance of Museum Village to the community and commits to supporting efforts to secure its future through appropriate funding and resources. The Town Board encourages collaboration with local stakeholders, community organizations, and other relevant parties, calling on local legislators to pursue all necessary governmental means of support, including county executive and county legislature, to investigate a county initiative to fund Museum Village, to ensure the effective and efficient use of ARPA or any available surplus funds for the survival of Museum Village. The town clerk is directed to send a copy of this resolution to the appropriate town officials, the Museum Village administration, and other relevant parties to inform them of this resolution and to solicit their cooperation in this endeavor.
Sorry, Bingham will second.
Discussion. I think that Museum Village is an extraordinarily valuable resource for the area, no doubt. Its history, the association with Roscoe Smith, the beauty and the opportunity for kids to learn. Cornell Cooperative is there. I mean, the property is gorgeous, but the town of Monroe only owns a very small portion of that.
5%.
And considering that we just held a public hearing regarding the expenditure of $1.1 million for Water District 1, I mean, if there are surplus ARPA funds, I don't think that that's the best and most responsible use for our money. So that's my 2 cents. We have a motion, we have a second. We'll call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, nay.
Hool, nay.
Richardson, aye.
So no action was taken. Okay.
Can we motion to, or is it revisit? Does it say deadlock? Like, do we need to motion to add this or a version of this to the agenda where we investigate any feasible funding that we could contribute, as well as noticing the official, or I'm saying, do I need to, or if, when it's a dead lock, is it an automatic sort of push down? That's what I'm asking. No action is taken. What does that mean?
Action is on what you proposed with ARPA. You could make a motion if you're looking to have something for other funds in it.
I mean, that's contained. That's contained in this. That's what I'm trying to say. There's aspects contained in this that just ask that people investigate any possible and surplus funding, and it says any additional.
I'd say that failed, so if you wanted to make a more narrow motion about investigating funding, you could do that. I can only say that whatever is in that one failed, so it just, there's a no action with respect to that. But
No, because when we voted earlier on other actions that were deadlocked, they got pushed to the future meeting.
Well, I think you could raise it again or ask that it be put on the agenda. Yeah.
Okay, then I would like to, yes, because I don't have access to council to draft resolutions, I would like this to be put on the agenda and scoped. Can we make that motion for
the September meeting?
Yes.
September, what date?
3rd or 16th?
16th.
I would like to make the motion that the resolution to assist and allocate any additional funding and be modified to investigate, and appoint myself the liaison to the committee to investigate and work with council to draft a formal resolution that would be more suitable to the board majority for the September, what is it? Third
would be
meeting?
the first meeting in September.
Is that too soon?
I don't think there's time restriction on it.
For the September 3rd meeting.
Okay, so I'll second that motion.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, nay.
Hool, nay.
Richardson, aye. So I guess we don't care about investigating funding Museum Village.
We
Definitely
do.
care.
It's just, most of Museum Village is in Blooming Grove.
I think it's
To
95%.
take town of, and I would agree with you, based on conversations that I've had with both Supervisor Cardona and Supervisor Geralman, using our ARPA money to fund something that is predominantly in another town.
We just
is-
made the motion to narrow it as an investigation of what
And I'm-
Monroe can do.
And essentially, my vote was to say, no, I don't think that this is a smart use of our time or our efforts.
My time, and I don't even have any liaison assignments, and I'm being
So-
paid a flat salary.
So there is, it was brought to my attention that the response for the senior discount program through Morangi, the address for Morangi, the zip code, there's a typo in the zip code. So the zip code should be 10940. Val, can you investigate to see who created this and then have that corrected, please? Thank you.
And just going back to the first resolution that Councilwoman Richardson read with all the whereas and the therefores, if you can please forward that to me? Thank you.
I can give you this copy. You want it in digital or?
No, if you
Okay.
can send it to me digital, please, thank you.
So if there's no other business before the board, I make a motion that we adjourn the town board meeting of August 12th at 9:44 PM.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Thank you very much.
The typo, that's their